The baby wouldn't stop crying. And everyone on the plane could feel it. Flight attendants exchanged helpless glances, passengers sighed and turned up their headphones, and a young woman in seat 14C tried to pretend she didn't hear the tiny, desperate wails echoing through the cabin. But she couldn't. Something inside her, something deep and aching, wouldn't let her ignore that sound. Her name was Lena Carter, a 27-year-old kindergarten teacher flying home from visiting her sister. She wasn't wealthy, she wasn't famous, and she definitely didn't belong in the luxurious business class section just a few rows ahead of her. But that's where the crying came from. At first, she thought, maybe the flight attendants will handle it. But when she glanced up, she saw the scene clearly, a man in a tailored gray suit, cradling a red-faced baby, completely lost. His dark hair was tousled, his tie hung loose, and exhaustion was written across his face. Something told her, this wasn't just a bad flight, it was something deeper. Lena stood, ignoring the stares from passengers annoyed by the noise. She walked toward the man. "Excuse me," she said softly. "May I help?" The man looked up, startled. His eyes were tired but strikingly blue, sharp even through the fatigue. I don't think so. He just won't stop crying. I've tried everything." Lena smiled kindly. "Sometimes babies just need a little song." He hesitated, then nodded, almost desperate for hope. Lena gently took the baby into her arms. The moment she began to hum, the atmosphere shifted. Her voice was soft, warm, like sunlight filtering through curtains on a quiet morning. Musical note, "Hush, little baby, don't say a word," musical note. Within minutes, the baby's cries faded into hiccups, then soft breathing. His tiny fingers curled around Lena's hair, and soon, he was asleep against her shoulder. The cabin, once filled with noise and tension, now felt calm. Passengers looked up from their screens, smiling. Even the flight attendants paused to listen. The man stared at her as if she'd performed a miracle. "Thank you," he whispered. "You have no idea how much that means." She smiled. "It's nothing. I work with kids all day, it just takes a little patience." He smiled faintly. "I'm Ethan, and this little guy is Noah. Nice to meet you, Ethan and Noah." She returned the sleeping baby to his arms. But even as she walked back to her seat, she couldn't shake the image of that weary man and the sadness behind his eyes. Hours later, as the plane landed, Ethan caught up to her near baggage claim. "Miss Carter, Lena, right?" She turned, surprised he remembered. "Yes, I just wanted to thank you again. You really saved me up there." He paused. "I'm not usually this helpless. It's just, his mother passed away 3 months ago. This is our first flight without her." Lena froze. Her heart ached. "I'm so sorry. She was everything. And now it's just me and him. I don't know if I'm doing any of this right." Her voice softened. "You're doing better than you think. That baby feels your love, he just misses his mom. You both do." Something flickered in his eyes, recognition, maybe, or gratitude. "Thank you," he murmured. "Would you, maybe like to meet us for coffee sometime? You have a way with Noah. And honestly, I could use a few tips from someone who actually knows what she's doing." Lena hesitated for a moment, then smiled. "Sure, I'd like that." Their friendship began with coffee, and a lot of spilled baby formula. Ethan was unlike anyone Lena had met, brilliant, successful, yet heartbreakingly human. He told her he ran a family company, though he never mentioned just how big that company was. To her, he was just a devoted father doing his best. She found herself helping more, babysitting when he had meetings, teaching Noah nursery rhymes, introducing laughter into their quiet, grief-heavy home. And Ethan began to heal. He started smiling more, laughing, even cooking, though the first attempt at pancakes ended with smoke and alarms. One evening, after Noah had fallen asleep, they sat on the porch as the sun melted into gold. Ethan turned to her. "You know, Lena, ever since that flight, my life hasn't felt so heavy." She smiled. "That's Noah, he's your light." He looked at her for a long moment. "No, it's you." Her breath caught, but before she could respond, Noah cried out from his crib, and she excused herself to soothe him. The moment passed, but something new had begun. Then came the challenge. Lena's modest school salary couldn't keep up with city rent. One afternoon, she got an eviction notice. She didn't tell Ethan. She didn't want to burden him or seem like she wanted anything from him. But fate had other plans. The next morning, she came to babysit, and Ethan noticed her red eyes. "What's wrong?" "Nothing," she lied. He didn't buy it. "Lena, please, tell me." Finally, she admitted, "I'm being evicted. But I'll figure it out." Without hesitation, he said, "You can stay here. There's a guest room, plenty of space." She shook her head. "Ethan, I can't. People would get the wrong idea." "Let them," he said quietly. "You've already given this house more life than it's seen in years." Reluctantly, she agreed, temporarily. Days turned into weeks. The house filled with warmth again. Music, laughter, even the smell of cookies Noah and Lena baked together. And then the secret she never expected to uncover. One night, while tidying the study, she saw a newspaper clipping framed on the shelf. "Billionaire tech visionary Ethan Hale expands global empire." Her heart stopped. She realized the man she'd sung a lullaby for was one of the richest men in the country. The next morning, she confronted him. "Why didn't you tell me who you were?" He looked almost embarrassed. "Because when you sang to Noah on that plane, you didn't see a billionaire. You saw a father who was lost. I didn't want that to change." Tears filled her eyes. "It doesn't change anything. You're still Ethan, but I wish you'd trusted me enough to tell me." "I do trust you," he said softly. More than anyone, their bond grew deeper, but not without rumors. The media caught on when photos surfaced of Lena pushing Noah's stroller. Headlines screamed, "Mysterious woman in billionaire's life." Lena's quiet world turned upside down overnight. Paparazzi followed her, parents at school whispered, and she almost quit. But Ethan stopped her. "Don't let their noise ruin something real," he said. "I'll protect you both, no matter what it takes." Still, the pressure was too much. Lena loved Noah dearly, but she couldn't bear being called a gold digger or homewrecker by people who didn't know her heart. So one evening, she packed her bags and left a note. "Ethan, thank you for everything. For trusting me with Noah. For letting me be part of your healing. But I can't be the reason people attack you. You deserve peace. Goodbye, Lena." Weeks passed. Noah cried for her every night. Ethan felt her absence like air missing from his lungs. One rainy evening, as he rocked Noah to sleep, he began humming the lullaby she used to sing. And that's when he realized, he couldn't lose her too. He drove through the storm to her small apartment, where she'd found a new job teaching music. When she opened the door, she gasped. "Ethan." He stood there, drenched, holding Noah wrapped in a blanket. "I'm sorry," he said simply. "For everything, the headlines, the fear, not telling you who I was. But Lena, you are the piece that made us whole again." She blinked back tears. "Ethan, he stepped closer. "You sang my son to sleep when I thought I'd lost everything. You showed me that love doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be real. Please, come home." Her voice trembled. "Are you sure that's what you want?" He smiled, eyes glistening. "It's all I've wanted since that day on the plane." They returned home together, not as strangers from two worlds, but as a family built from pain, patience, and music. Months later, on a quiet evening, Ethan surprised her. He handed her a small music box. When she opened it, the lullaby began to play, the same one she'd sung on the plane. Inside was a ring. "Marry me, Lena, not because you saved me, but because you made me believe in love again." Tears streamed down her cheeks as she whispered, "Yes." Noah clapped his tiny hands, and the three of them laughed through tears. Epilogue. Years later, when people asked Lena how she met her husband, she'd smile and say, "It started with a crying baby on a plane. I just sang a lullaby." What she didn't say, but always remembered, was this: sometimes, life gives you a moment that looks like inconvenience, but it's really destiny in disguise. Because love doesn't always arrive in grand gestures or perfect timing. Sometimes, it comes as a cry for help, and the courage to answer it with kindness. Moral of the story: never underestimate the power of simple kindness. One small act can change someone's life, and your own, in ways you never imagined.